Hey, Ryan. Good
Hey,
afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Plain Speak, our once every 2 week session where we pick the brains of industry experts for just a quick 30-minute chat on the intersections of both customer service and technology. So today's Plain Speak guest is joining us from Zurich, Switzerland. Ryan Stevens, head of operations at Clutch, where Ryan is responsible for the company's marketplace operations and customer experience strategy. If you're new to Clutch, you can think of Clutch as Yelp for B2B businesses that offers verified ratings and in-depth reviews. So Clutch helps instill trust for over 1 million buyers per month in their procurement journey. And at the center of helping make sure everything works is Ryan, who, along with his team, provides a seamless customer and operational experience. So, for those of you new to Plain Speak, my name is Liz Tai, and I'm the CEO and founder of High Operator. So, HiOp is the leading customer support solution that scales dynamically based on a company's evolving needs. At the core, we have our proprietary customer support engine, HiQ, which leverages generative AI, a whole lot of cool backend automation to tackle really complex customer requests. So we've spent the last few months here at Plain Speak speaking to CX experts about their personal journeys as leaders, as well as the current state of CX in businesses. One common theme we've heard is how customer experience teams really are on the front lines with customers. They hear everything, they see everything, but how do they then take this and translate this back into the rest of their organization to really drive business decisions? Really excited to have Ryan here with us today because they really buck that trend at Clutch, where customer experience sits at the center of their organization. With custom CX tools, Ryan's team influences change based on company centricity and bringing metrics really to all of that customer contact as much as possible. So, as we get started here, a quick housekeeping note. Please ask questions via the comments on LinkedIn. We see them on our side. If we don't get to them during the session, we will reach out directly or post answers on LinkedIn after this session. So Ryan, I know it's late in Switzerland, so it's fantastic to have you here with us today. And I'm excited for the audience to hear about how you've orchestrated a really CX-centric organization at Clutch.
awesome.
So
Thank you for having me first. I was just thinking, man, Liz gives my intro way better than I could ever.
No. We are so excited to have you here, Ryan. Thank you for making time. So, Ryan, maybe just high level to start off, right? Your team sits not only at the center of your organization, but also at the intersection of some very unique customer profiles. Tell us a little bit high level about your team and then those different customer profiles that you guys think about at Clutch.
Yeah, of course. So, fortunate in the leadership position I sit in, I have the customer experience team as well as our broader operations teams. So I have the teams that are responsible for doing the do, as well as the teams that are collecting the feedback on what we do. And so that makes it really easy. Let me say not really easy, but it makes it easier to understand kind of how we're doing and where our processes can evolve. I appreciate the Yelp comparison. So Clutch, we a Yelp, but for B2B services, right? So Yelp B2C, business to consumer, Clutch B2B, business to business, and there's a lot of intricacies that happen with a B2B customer. But you break down customer for a marketplace, and you have two sides. You have the buyers of B2B services, and you have the sellers of B2B services. And so it's been a really challenging but exciting place to work, as you mentioned, at that intersection, right? Because ultimately, we're building a product that is meant to be most valuable to the B2B buyer, right? A product that they can come find verified reviews, data, content on the services that they want to procure. But we generate revenue from the B2B service provider, and that introduces a really unique nuance, because our primary customer, the B2B buyer, isn't the customer that pays us, the B2B service provider.
Makes sense. So for example, there would be a high operator page, and then our clients could go and review their services with us, right?
That there better be a high operator page, but
There is.
yes, that's exactly it. You mentioned a sort of another stakeholder in the marketplace is the reviewer, but yeah, that's exactly how it would work. A B2B service provider would build a profile, fill that profile out with the primary objective of collecting reviews, so that when they're found on our platform, a B2B buyer, would decide to reach out and potentially procure their services.
Makes sense. So you have companies who have profiles, other companies who use their services, who fill out reviews for them. And I think I've also heard you speak about how this is very much a freemium marketplace, right? So as you guys think about creating customer experience, client experience, how do you think about the different needs and finding that balance?
Yeah, so Clutch isn't unique in the sense that we have a freemium model, right? Our primary services of collecting reviews and featuring service providers are free to all service providers, right? But as the business has grown and our popularity has grown, brand has grown, the platform has become more. There's just more service providers that are featured on the platform. And so how do we continue to service and attract, service providers to lean on our platform when there's so many eyeballs that can be found within the platform? So it's a really, really unique balance on demonstrating value to free service providers and ensuring that they can find success when they collect reviews with us, but also making sure that providers who decide to advertise with us, that they get enough eyeballs and visibility to continue to stay with us.
Got it. That makes sense, right? Because I think as a consumer, you've experienced Yelp, you understand that personal, hey, I had this experience. It's a very both high volume, but then also a very personal review versus, the idea of a B2B review marketplace is really unique. And, if I sort of put myself in that perspective, I can see how reviews could be incredibly consequential to both sides participating in the platform, right? Both the person reviewing on behalf of something their employer is using, but then also from the side of the B2B the service provider who's getting the reviews. When you think about those dynamics, what are some maybe unique customer experience and operations challenges that you encounter?
100% all centers around trust.
Mm-hmm.
So all of our challenges center around how do we instill trust in our processes with the service providers as well as the buyers who are reading the reviews, evaluating those service providers. Right. This comes back to that challenge of service providers are our customers that help us generate revenue. Our primary customers are the buyers of B2B services and building great content and trustworthy content for them. Right. So as you can imagine, there's like most review sites, Clutch isn't any different, that a service provider gets a negative or constructive review and they're upset and want to bring it down. Right. Yeah. Where it is different is and use this word, is the consequential. Right. A restaurant will have a couple dozen customers a day and a handful of reviews every week. A service provider has a much smaller pool of customers and pool of prospective customers, right? And so the handling and the care that has to go into the customer experience for the service providers to ensure that that we can help them manage their review profile, but also to ensure to remind them that we don't mediate the reviewer's review and what actually happened, right? And so I think it's for me, it's a cool thing that we bring to this industry that didn't exist before, right? Is that we're trying to encourage service providers and mainly service providers that, hey, like, do good business, right? And through good business, you get positive or highly constructive. Not always. I hate saying negative because we live in a world where 3 is bad, but it's actually it's more than halfway.
Under the curve.
But constructive, right? And I think that it's just a really, really intricate process that has to go into managing service providers' relationships with us, as well as continuing to instill trust with the reviewers, because B2B reviews can be so consequential to business.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Because if you are the 500th reviewer of a restaurant, right, that is very different than being the 3rd reviewer of, an accountancy service, for example. Which actually, when we think about that, double click for me a little bit. What is that, call it, reviewer experience? Like, how are they coming to the platform? How is your team chaperoning them through that? Because that's very different than Googling, getting on Google reviews, and going, awesome restaurant.
Yes, I appreciate that question. It's something I'm particularly proud of that we've built, right? So when we started the business, we knew that we were not going to be successful at getting B2B service providers to have their clients leave reviews on a platform that did not have a brand or even a really, our website is amazing today, but it didn't look like this, 10 years ago, right? So we were experiencing a lot of a chicken and an egg. How do we convince B2B service providers to submit their clients' reference information so that we could collect that review?
Yeah.
And so what we did and realized is that B2B service providers hold their clients close to the chest, and we needed to mirror that confidence and say, here's how we are going to chaperone or lead your clients through the process, and leading us to building a client interview process that we take a 10-15 minute phone call with our service providers clients, record it and then edit it down for length and clarity, so that so that the companies featured on the platform have this really nice case study like review, right? Yeah. But it was a byproduct of, hey, we just need to make sure that we get the review, and we're going to do anything that your clients need to get the review. And so that meant picking up the call and building sort of a white glove service to get chaperone a client through the process, and trying to make it as least stressful and easy as possible.
Makes sense. It's really that sort of white glove walking them through it, because you're so correct in that trust is both ways, right? You're relying on trust with the service provider to open up their portfolio of clients. But then what about the other way around, right? Because now you have, clients who are writing reviews, and they need to have, I guess, a sense of trust that is going to be unfiltered. A lot of times these might be more personal relationships. How do they walk that line of, hey, my bad review is not going to get buried and edited out and, censored?
Yeah. So it has been and will remain, I suspect, one of the biggest challenges we face in the B2B space, right? Is that I think it's one of the things that makes it the space unique, is that B2B services are really human. They're between two groups of people, and there's a lot of relationship building that goes in there, right? And there's a lot of emotion and feelings that end up going into who a service provider pushes to leave a review and why, right? And it gets more and more complex as businesses grow, I would say, right? In a lot of small and medium-sized businesses, the founder and the CEO does a lot of things, including sales and marketing and managing their clutch profile.
Yep.
as the business grows, that becomes less, those responsibilities fall on other teams, and all of a sudden the teams that are responsible for managing clients is not the team that's responsible for submitting those clients to the Clutch platform, right? And that can create a lot of complexity and even within an org of managing relationships, and also forces a lot of complexity on our end on how do we identify the members of the org that we need to navigate to help ease in their review submission process. Not sure if that covered exactly the topic, but it's complex.
Yes. No, and you have a lot of stakeholders on both sides, right? They're trying to interact with that with different incentives. They're really trying to get different value out of the platform. Awesome. So I'm actually really excited now to maybe talk a little bit about processes and tools and how we use that and sort of bring that CX centricity into it, right? Because y'all are sitting at a really interesting point, because I mean, as with every brand, you really want to be able to provide white glove service to both sides of the marketplace, but you got to scale it, right? And bring up another good point, which is it's not like someone's sitting there reviewing IBM or Oracle. They're reviewing sometimes a smaller service provider where there is a very personal relationship. So as Clutch has grown, and I'd love to hear your sides, I think it sounds like pretty exponentially through COVID with the move to digital and everything. How did y'all keep CX at the center of the org, leverage processes, and really be able to keep that white glove concierge feel while trying to scale this thing?
Yes, no, right. I think, personally, value, right? Are we building something that's awesome? And does it add value? Right. And when the answer is resoundingly yes, business, it's just easier to do business. Right? But for my group, I think one of the things that helps us to drive this sort of CX-centric focus is that our teams or my teams are the frontline teammates that are, again, responsible for doing the do, but also reporting on how we're doing, right? And so there's a lot of feedback and data that comes from customers. The only feedback from customers comes into the CX and the what we call our content operations departments, right? And so this is going to give us feedback, typically anecdotal, and I'll mention why that's a challenge shortly, but typically anecdotal, but coming from our customers that are free. That's our basic CX. And then you have our customers that pay us. That's our account managers. That's our customer success. And then we have this other group, our content ops group, that is going to be interacting with our reviewers, right? Out here, we have our broader site feedback that is the buyers, just the regular users. All of that comes and funnels in through another one of my groups, the CRM team, what we call the growth ops, but into one pool. So right, in any day, you're looking at feedback from free providers, paid providers, buyers, reviewers, right? Right. Right. So, if anything's kind of going wrong, you almost hear it from all different angles and are able to kind of suss out whether or not this is an issue, a blip, or something that is just kind of the price of doing business. And I think that is what makes the sort of the Clutch, CX and operations department so exciting, right? Is you're often trying to balance, right? How do we offer this customer value if it potentially impacts that customer's value? How do we mediate this service provider's review issue with this reviewer's same issue? And it's having sort of both sides and trying to almost take both sides in every view that I take, and I know that the leaders within my departments take, makes this, I think that gives that centricity that we've talked about.
Definitely. So it's almost, you guys have no choice but to be in the center of all of this, because you literally have 4 or 5 parties all politely communicating into the center about everything going on, right? And if I remember accurately, it's feedback going to different parts and different teams as well, right? You have some in-house teams, some outsourced teams. It's really kind of all 360, which is great because you're at the center of all of the feedback. But, and you mentioned this earlier, so a lot of this is going to be on each individual basis. It's going to be anecdotal, right? So how are you guys thinking about synthesizing all of that from all directions?
And that again has been, something I wish I could have taught a younger self of, like, you know what, you're the anecdotes, as the company evolves and we look to scale, are just not going to get you where you need to go, right? So how do you take what you read in an email, or what a customer says to a sales rep or an account manager, and start to put numbers to it? It's so important, and it's something that I think we're still working to improve, but we've gotten a lot better at over the last couple of years. Is saying, hey, I know this to be anecdotally true, but in order to make it effective and able to impact the rest of the org, you got to start to measure it, right? And that goes to such a long way, right? And there's things that we do to measure occurrences of certain situations or words and calls and emails that we try to roll up, and then make sure that we disseminate it through the rest of the company, and to the leaders, of saying, this is how many times this has occurred related to a customer issue. As a percentage base, it's this percent, and because of that, it's a problem, right? And so it's all about figuring out the best way for your org, and it changes, I guess I should say, by the departments within my team, within or under my umbrella, is how we roll this up. But taking anecdotes, taking what you're seeing in customer emails and phone calls, and putting numbers to it, so to share out,
defining the impact.
Yeah, it's been as the AI and that technology runs forward, a lot of the sentiment analysis is becoming easier and for us to do in-house, and so that has also helped to kind of put a layer on top of the data.
Makes sense, because I love this, because I think this is the part that is often easier said than done, right? Is quantifying that. Are there any sort of quick either tips or maybe an overview of your team that you can share here? Are there specific tools? Do you guys have a data team, a machine learning team? What are you guys using to try and do that?
Yes, so we're one of the things our CEO has done recently that we're also excited about is invest in a data team, right? And so we used to say around Clutch, and content is king, and I think we are moving to this world where data is king, right? And so we've always built. I think we've been ahead of the curve of how to build content in a way that is scalable, and but where we haven't invested is how do we take the learnings of what that content is saying and analyze it and put it into data. So currently we've recently invested heavily in building out a data team, and that has been I don't know, is the phrase worth their weight in gold? I'm not sure if that one.
How big is the team?
It's been amazing. Yeah, how big the team? Yeah. So I think that's the right phrase, and if it means something bad, cut that part out. But they've been so helpful because it rated being able to synthesize what that data means, and help draw in management team, leadership team's eyes, and say, this is what's happening. Clean data, clear data helps every group, whether or not it's CX, revenue, finance, you name a department. Clean data it helps everybody, perform better. But that's been a little bit of the shift that's come with sort of the technology pressures
Yeah.
of the last couple months. But one of the things that has always been top of mind is that we're a review site, right? We're a content enabled marketplace. How do we scale that content, right? And so years ago, we started building our own internal tools to help us to process reviews and to synthesize them. That I think is, in this moment in time, always really exciting to look on, because we've been a bit ahead of that curve, right?
Yeah, because I think for as long as we've sort of talked about this, you guys have really been on top of orchestrating the newest tools with the right freelancers, the right human touches to really try and speed up that feedback loop. And that's been really, really exciting to see. I like it. The future, the content used to be king, and now data is king, as you said.
Futures, yeah. Data is going to rule our world, and I think we're all, and I'm sure your business too, is all just trying to prep for it.
Yeah, and look, content is data. So however you slice it, it's all in there. Last takeaways. As you think about the future of CX, maybe it's different channels or different experiences. What else do you see anything else sort of changing in that front-facing customer experience that you're excited about?
Not immediate, but all of it, right?
Yeah.
I've had a couple really amazing tech-enabled customer experiences recently that I am just, one with the cable provider, and I'm like, this was great. Like
Okay.
and another with like a moving company. I'm like, this is amazing, right? And so things that I think are on the that we're not quite there yet, and I think you agree on this one, is like a lot of voice, customer experience, right? Sometimes I do just want to talk back and forth with the customer experience rep, ask my kind of detailed question, and in my language, and that I don't think we're there yet, but I think we'll see a lot of sort of voice call in, and sort of readiness to respond, which I think is the lag where AI is hitting right now. But I think we'll see more of that voice to text and voice to response.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. If you just take the right backend context engine, hook it up to some generative AI, and beautifully artificially synthesized voice, that's the whole thing, right?
Whole thing.
So I'm excited about that. We've got just a couple of minutes here before we let folks go back to their lunch. So Ryan, each week there is a rolling question. Yours is coming from our last guest, James Lemire, Director of Customer Experience at HM Bradley. And he'd like to know how you cook your eggs, or how you want them cooked, if you, like me, don't really cook eggs.
Oh yeah. I don't know. At some point over the last couple, I'd say decade, I just like stopped eating eggs, and so I have somewhat of an intolerance to like eggs by themselves. But I would say if I had to cook eggs, it would be in a cake.
Okay. What kind of cake?
Oh man. So is it Betty Hines? I can't.
Betty Crocker, I think the cake.
Duncan Hines, right? That red
okay.
box where it's yellow cake and chocolate frosting. That's where the eggs would be cut.
I love it. I don't think I've made one since college, but
or since with my mom at some point. But yes.
No, I love it. Eggs and cake. It's a good way to go. And then question for you then is, for our guest next session, what question would you like to ask them?
So I'm looking at this bookcase in Switzerland, and there's I think it's an Italian version of Harry Potter on it. So my question would be, if you had to choose, who would you be, Hermione, Ron, or Harry Potter?
And why? Interesting. What would your choice
be? Who's mine?
Yes.
I am probably Hermione. I liked getting good grades and got into very little trouble, but had friends that often pulled me into trouble. But then I was a goody two shoes.
Love it. And we could all use that little time shifting device that she had to attend double classes, right?
Yes.
Well, Ryan, thank you again for
Oh,
taking.
who would you be? Who would you be before we go?
Sorry?
Who would you be?
Oh, gosh. I think I'd also be Hermione. I just want that time shifting device, right? We got to get
That's
an
a good
extra 2 hours out of the day. I was also the nerd of nerds, which is why perhaps we both ended up in this podcast right here, right now. But should be fun. Ryan, thank you so much for taking time. We're going to let you go enjoy your evening in Switzerland here. So thanks everyone who took time to tune in with us here during your lunch break as well. If you have any customer support questions, please reach out and come join us for our next Plain Speak. It's going to be 2 weeks from now, Wednesday, September 6th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to chat about navigating diverse customer needs by adapting support strategies for premium and then convenience-driven brands. This will be with Sean Satterfield, Director of Customer Experience, who was most recently dishing up a really great CX at Sunbasket. Thank you all very much and have a great rest of your hump day, folks.